Hello, my name is Sam Hall. This is my peer reflection on Ben Tjaden's persuasive speech on the topic of Jeffrey Epstein. Throughout this peer reflection, I will be evaluating Ben on his speech, the info in his speech, and his delivery throughout it. I will use what I have learned throughout my experiences in the ComEx 111 class, both in lecture and online, to give my opinions on his speech. Ben used a narrative as his attention getter. It was extremely effective as it quickly made his stance known about a very controversial person, Jeffrey Epstein. While the narrative is a pretty standard attention getter, it worked very well for Ben. I also like that his stance was made on the topic so quickly. The other thing that stood out about it was that his background also helped to make his stance clear. That is not a tool that many other people have used. He then got into the body of his speech where he starts to make his argument. I can tell that Ben doesn't believe that Epstein actually committed suicide based on the background of his speech, but as for the actual argument, it was very difficult to follow. He had reputable sources, but I struggled to tell what they actually supported. I struggled as well to tell exactly what his three main points were. It seemed like Ben put a lot of time and research into the facts about his speech, and it seemed that he also had a lot of pre-existing knowledge about his topic. However, it wasn't very well organized in his speech. I found that a second area he missed out on his speech was his visual aids. Compared to a lot of other speeches, his were lacking. His closing statement was done very well. It was memorable, and it was a very strong way to close the speech. It was obvious that his speech was over, and it ended the speech nicely. I really liked that he said people need to go out and do their own research on this and make their own conclusions on what really happened to Jeffrey Epstein. Ben unfortunately didn't have the greatest delivery. It wasn't terrible, but there were definitely some things that he could improve upon. He constantly looked at his lap while he was talking and briefly looked up at the camera from time to time. He was also sitting on a chair for the entire speech, which wasn't overly professional. He did, however, have a great tone and he spoke very clearly, which made it easy to understand what he was saying. I would say the biggest strength of his speech was that he seemed very passionate about this topic, which made him seem very knowledgeable on it. His research was solid and he seemed to have quite a bit of pre-existing knowledge on the topic. His biggest weakness in the speech was how he rambled on through it. It was over a minute long past the time, and it was hard to keep track of everything in the speech. There was just no clear organizational patterns in his delivery.